Okay, what if I told you that your past doesn't actually define you, that your emotions are just tools you choose to use, and that every single one of your problems, and I mean all of them, are really just about other people? It sounds pretty out there, right? Well, that's the radical idea behind the massive bestseller, The Courage to be Disliked. So let's dive into a philosophy that might just challenge everything you think you know about happiness.
This right here is the core idea from the philosopher and the book, and it's all based on the psychology of Alfred Adler. Now, I know what you're thinking. In our complicated world, that statement just sounds, well, naive, maybe even impossible. But this philosophy argues that it's the absolute truth, and it's a truth that's available to every single one of us right now.
So how in the world do we get there? Well, we start by taking a hammer to the myths we all live by. The idea that your trauma is a life sentence, we're going to see that as a myth. The belief that our emotions are these wild forces that control us, turns out that's a misunderstanding. And the feeling that you're unhappy because of your circumstances, according to this way of thinking, that's the biggest lie we tell ourselves. Let's start with the big one, trauma. We are taught from day one that our past, especially the painful parts, dictates who we are today. Adlerian psychology comes along and just throws that entire idea right out the window. See, most psychology focuses on what's called etiology, which is basically the study of causes. It says you are this way because of what happened to you. But Adler's psychology uses teleology, the study of a purpose or a goal. It says you are behaving this way in order to achieve a goal you have right now. And that one little switch, that is the entire game changer. It moves you from being a victim of your past to the architect of your own life.
This quote from Adler himself just says it all. It's not the event that shapes you, it's the meaning you assign to it. It's the story you tell yourself about what happened. A tough childhood can be your proof that the world is a terrible place, or it can be the foundation for your resilience. The power to decide that meaning is all yours.
Okay, so if the past isn't really in the driver's seat, what about our emotions? I mean, come on, a fit of rage, that's gotta be an uncontrollable force that just happens to us, right? Well, Adler would say, nope. Emotions don't just happen to you. They are tools that you choose to use. So let's use a classic example from the book to see how this works. Picture it. You're in a coffee shop, you're wearing your favorite jacket, and a waiter accidentally spills coffee all over you. You know that feeling, right? That instant flash of heat?
The normal answer, the one we'd all give, is, well, I yelled because I was angry. Simple cause and effect. The anger came first, so the yelling followed. But teleology pushes us to ask a different question. What was your goal?
And this is where it gets wild. The Adlerian view flips this whole thing on its head. You didn't yell because you were angry. You actually fabricated the emotion of anger so that you could yell. Think about it. Your goal was to dominate the situation, to make that waiter submit and take you seriously fast. Anger was just the quickest, most efficient tool you had to get the job done.
So we've kind of debunked trauma as this all-powerful force, and we've reframed emotions as tools we can pick up and put down. And that brings us to what is maybe Adler's single most profound and provocative claim about why we suffer.
Just think for a second about all your worries, your anxieties, your feelings of not being good enough. Where do they really come from? The answer, according to Adler, is both shockingly simple and it covers, well, everything.
That's it. Let that sink in for a second. Every single problem you can think of is, at its very core, a problem about your relationships with other people. Feeling inferior? That only exists when you compare yourself to someone else. Anxious about your career? That's really anxiety about how others will judge you. If you were literally the only person in the universe, Adler says, you wouldn't have any problems at all.
So why does this happen? It all comes from seeing life as a competition. The second you believe that you have to win against others, you start seeing everyone as an opponent or even an enemy. Their success feels like your failure. Their happiness becomes a threat. And when you live in that state of constant competition, you can never feel safe, you can't really trust anyone, and true happiness is basically impossible. So if our unhappiness is this prison we've built for ourselves out of our relationships, how do we get out? The answer isn't about learning some new skill or waiting for things to get better. It all comes down to one simple but very difficult thing: courage.
This might be the book's most challenging message, but it's also the most empowering. It's not that you're broken or you're just not capable of being happy. It's that you have, on some level, decided not to change. Because staying unhappy is actually easier. It's safer. It gives you excuses, and it protects you from the terrifying risk of being disliked.
So what's the actual path forward look like? It really boils down to 3 big steps. First, you have to realize that your so-called personality, what Adler calls your lifestyle, is something you chose. It's not baked in. Second, you have to own the fact that if you're stuck, it's because you are actively choosing to stay stuck for a reason. And finally, you have to find the courage to choose a new lifestyle, not next week, not tomorrow, but right here, right now.
The past has no real power over you, and the future, well, it doesn't exist yet. Everything, absolutely everything, comes down to the decision that you make in this very moment. And that really only leaves one question left to ask yourself. Do you have the courage to be happy?